Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors and Stone Creek Hound Supply. Be sure to check them out for all your hound hunting needs. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talking Time. Just coming home from Autumn Oaks. It was a great trip. Anybody that listens and was able to make it out and meet me in person, it was great meeting you. Had a ton of fun. Was able to meet quite a few people that, I've either followed on different social medias or even people I've talked to but never met. And that's probably one of my favorite parts of that trip is actually getting to put some faces to some names and actually building some real relationships. It's always interesting to meet people through social media, but to actually sit down and have conversations with them is always way better. So I appreciate everyone that came out and saw me. If you were at Autumn Oaks and didn't get a chance, I completely understand. That event is so busy. I have to just say UKC does an amazing job with that event, and I don't understand how they orchestrate all that. It takes a ton of coordination and a ton of work. And so my hat is definitely off to UKC. From what I can even see, and I don't even see all the inner workings of that event. Also want to make sure I say congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Bryce Matthews. I was fortunate enough to be able to photograph their wedding as they got married on Tuesday at Autumn Oaks. So congratulations. And then last but not least, Stone Creek Hound Supply has, as long as they've been a sponsor of this podcast, they've offered a 5% discount for Tree Talking Time listeners. And not only are they continuing to donate and give back, they just donated a jacket for the summer giveaway. They are now going to give 15% off with a code of Tree Talking 15. So if you need chaps, jackets, frog legs, any briar-proof stuff, make sure you go check out Stone Creek Hound Supply. Great people. Really enjoyed getting to know the Spickler family this year as through them coming on as a sponsor. I've met them a handful of times, but really got to know them a lot more this year. So, and speaking of the summer giveaway, congratulations to Adam Loudon, who won first place, and John Walker, who won second place. Hopefully in the next week or so, you guys will be getting your stuff. So thank you very much for all the support, and hope you enjoy this episode. Let's talk about your win with Blue.
The world show. Yeah, I'm like really excited to show him this weekend. Actually, he's hit his 4-year-old peak, and we've been really working hard to get him ready for this event. And I mean, I just never would have thought when we got him 2 years ago that we would have won the world show and what he did.
Yeah, we actually picked him up here at this event
2 years
off
ago.
of David and Misty.
Okay.
And been kind of a work in progress. I mean, had a lot of success with him.
Yeah, he's but he so we actually just had a litter of puppies off of him this summer. So this is his very first litter. We had 11 puppies. We had 4 females and 7 boys. So we have one here this weekend.
Okay.
We saw him there a little bit earlier. He's currently in the camper with the 8-year-old girl and watching some TV. So but yeah, so we're really excited about them. I mean, they'll be ready to come out next year, and there's a lot of people that have had black and tan litters this year. I feel like, when you're in the breed, you have to keep, breeding and try to keep that, especially like, you get those registered dogs out there, so that way you're not just kind of stagnant. But I think a lot of people this year had some pretty nice litters, so I'm really excited for next year's group of young black and tans coming out and to see what's out there. Especially, I mean, a lot of them too are like Blue, like he's never produced, but kind of see how that worked out. So
I see how they all stack up against one another.
Yeah.
But like as far as like Autumn Oaks and stuff, this event, I've been coming out here every year since 2008.
Okay. Quite a few years.
Yeah, it's been a while. you've been coming out.
2009, I think, was my first year. Yeah.
In
I just had to watch.
2010. So my dad used to come with me all the time before Kelly and I were together. And it was 2010, so my dad was showing a black and tan here when he and I co-owned together. And it was mostly his dog. He just kept my name on him, more or less. He did all the work with him and stuff, but his name was Everett Hitman.
Okay.
And very first time he ever showed a dog at Autumn Oaks, and he only ever cared about hunting the dogs. And he comes in, the dog was already a grand show champion, and he goes in, starts showing. There was, I think, 2 cuts of grand male black and tans. He ends up winning that group.
Okay.
Then he's got to go and show against a female. The dog that win the female group, and at that point, in time, it was Lisa Bedingfield showing her female she called Amazing Gracie. It come down between those two for National Grand of Breed. My dad pulled off that win, and he's like getting ready to walk out the truck. Like he thought, oh, I'm done showing for the weekend, And I'm like, Dad, you got to go back in. And he's so he goes back in. Like he all in all, like whenever the dust settled, he won opposite sex overall.
Wow!
At the whole event, first time ever shown in Autumn Oaks, and I just never forget it. We're walking up after the show. We're going up when they had the kitchen and everything here. And he's like, I don't know what just happened. he said, I just care about treeing raccoons, He said, I don't understand all this stuff.
That's pretty funny, but that's pretty good that he's able to pull it off.
Yeah, he's
as
still
serious as the competition is here.
Yeah, he come in and to do it with a dog that was 9 years old at the time.
Wow.
Old Hitman. I remember Lee Kearns' speech. That's who was judging, and he got up there when he was picking the overall opposite sex, and he said, I'm looking at all these dogs up here and how well they've all held up, and he said, but there's one dog up here for his age. He's up here competing against dogs that are in their prime at 2 and 3 years old, and this dog's 9 years old, and he's still right there, ready, to go with the rest of them, and that's why I went with them. And
that's pretty cool.
But that was a memory. Like we have a lot of Autumn Oaks memories. So that was one of my highlights.
Yeah.
I came out here for years. I competed and I never even got a ribbon. This is like one of the hardest events.
Oh, for sure.
And
that's what we were talking on the way out here. The World Show has been really, really good to us because I have Boone and then Blue last year, but I have never won any grand class at Autumn Oaks. I've competed in the grand class with Boone a couple times and Blue last year and a female here and there, but I've never competed in the national grand overall at Autumn Oaks. So really excited. Hopefully this year I can get in there, but it's just kind of funny because it's like we won the World Show twice, but I've never competed at Oaks in the national grand group. So hopefully we can do that.
It's like some of the stiffest competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize that till I showed up. This is my 3rd year here, and I walked 2 years ago. I came and I was like, did not quite realize how stiff the competition was. Because unlike, the world where you've got to qualify, everybody shows up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the world, it's a whole separate animal. It's a whole different element and environment because, you're showing against top quality dogs.
Yeah.
And you're showing against all of the different categories within your breed.
Mm-hmm.
But the atmosphere is a little different than what you have going on here because it's more or less people show up for that day and it's just like they show and more or less go home. But here, it's something that, everybody shows up. You get all these people showing up Saturday, before the gates are even open, sleeping across the road. And
yeah.
Hit their prime spot.
Yeah, we got here 10:30 in the morning Sunday. I think we were 60 or 80 or something.
That was
holy smokes.
Yeah, we've never been here that early. Well, we've been here early, but never had to sit in line. So that was a new experience. We were I don't know where to go. We were in the wrong line first. We ended up being, not where we were supposed to be, but it worked out good. But it is tough because especially when it's the weather we're having this week where it's so hot. You try to get the shady spots to keep you
shade
cool for the week, and and everything. I think that's the hardest thing about Oaks, that when you come the whole week is just keeping the dogs fresh and cool and everything. So that's tough.
Yeah, and that's like, so I'm entered to hunt Thursday night and Friday night. So it's just, it's one of them deals that you got to try to keep your dog. You want to keep them in their condition, but you're here for that whole week, so you're trying to make sure they're eating good and make sure they're taking in their water and they're staying good and staying cool.
Stressful on a dog,
Oh yeah, that travel and stuff. Sometimes I feel it's nice when you do get there a couple days early. It gives that dog time to readjust instead of showing up, pulling them out of the box, and just putting them in competition. But
but every dog's different, and some travel better than others, and some you're better off, like you said, just showing up, pull them out of the box.
Yeah, and
so I know my male, when I travel, he doesn't eat, at least 3 or 4 days before he finally eats something.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them like that. It's always been something. I mean, we always kind of
prepare for we pack some extra, canned food to try to entice them if they're gonna not want to eat and stuff.
And sometimes too, you could just switch. You hate to switch feed right in the middle, but sometimes just sometimes just mixing in a little bit of different kibble. Sometimes something different. It piques their interest. But so we'll be just trying to keep dogs. I usually try to do at least one night just pleasure hunting out here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will this year because it's going to be so hot, so I might just kind of let the dog rest up. Like last year, I hunted Friday night here, and I hunted Thursday night. The dog did good, just didn't get the right breaks and whatnot. And Friday rolled around, and you were along on that cast and
won your cast.
Yeah, I mean, and that wasn't even the dog I was really planning on getting. I hadn't hunted him up before the event, but then I come to find out. Bo seems like he performs a little better the less you hunt him. like he wants it a little more. So hopefully that plays into it this week. I don't know.
Before we get too far into this, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Well, Dave and Kelly Myers. So we're from New Florence, Pennsylvania. We have black and tans and some walkers, and I grew up with coonhounds, so I was lucky enough. My dad always had coonhounds, and he hunted and local hunts and stuff. We never really showed nationally, but I kind of grew up showing animals, so horses or county fair. We had market animals and stuff. So I've always kind of been in some sort of competition with structure and things like that. So it just kind of led into coonhounds, and I was lucky enough to have exposure to that young. So that's kind of how I got into it. Lucky enough to meet Dave, and we share the same.
Some days you might question that.
There are days, but we are pretty good. It's nice because somebody shares the same, passion and views and goals as you do, and it just makes it so much easier to do this, because I know if you don't have the support of somebody, it's really hard to set those goals and be successful in it. So
I've seen you guys quite a few times after the last couple of years at events, and you guys travel around to quite a few events.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's not necessarily, it is a hobby, but it's, I hate to use that word though, because it's more of a lifestyle. It's something you commit yourself to. It's not, like deer hunting and stuff. It's always a great sport and things like that and whatnot. But
when deer season's over, you hang it up.
Yeah, you hang it up. Same thing with fishing and whatnot. But when you're running the hounds or you're showing the dogs and stuff, that work never ends. It's something that 365 days a year. Yeah, it's always there. So you have to plan every. We plan all of our vacations and what what we're doing. It controls a lot of different aspects of your lifestyle. And
for sure.
But I wouldn't trade it.
No, absolutely not.
The friends and stuff, the friendships that you
we've
come into over the years and whatnot. It definitely wouldn't trade any of it for anything. You know, some guys, you know, like I'm telling guys at work about like, oh, you know, what are you doing on vacation? I tell them, and they're like, oh, it just sounds like a lot of work. It's like,
it is.
Yeah, but it's what we like to do.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
you're chasing a dream, but it's also, I mean, it's everybody does this whole sport for different reasons. I mean, what it all comes down to. I mean, you know, like Steve Fielder always said in like some of his podcasts about like it's recognition.
Yeah.
And you think about it in that sense, and it's like, oh, you know, but I guess that's really what it does come down to. But yeah, like, you know, everybody's does it for recognition, but it's not just I don't think it's like personal recognition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're competing in a sport with all your friends and, you know, all your friendships. But when you have a certain animal, you know, and you take a lot of pride in that animal, you want to get it recognized.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really bragging rights. It's just like a personal gratification, I guess. And
yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, you've put a lot of work, like you said, you put a lot of work into this animal, you know, whether that's showing or hunting, and you want that dog to be recognized for what they are. Yes, you put the work into them, and yeah, it's kind of nice people recognize you, but at the end of the day, it's the dog that you really want recognized.
That's what it all comes down to. And whether it's hunting or showing, I mean, it's more or less like you do all your work either in the dark or behind the scenes, and then you show up to the events to hopefully get that recognized with that animal.
Yeah.
The harder you work, I mean, the more chances you have of that happening. But as for myself, I guess we kind of went off on a little bit of a chase there. But as for myself, I got into the hounds. I mean, my first coonhound I got, I think I was 14 when I got, and before that, I grew up like we had a dog. He was a half beagle, half Dotson, and just a yard dog. You know, ran around the house and as a kid, and my dad before I was born, he used to have coonhounds.
Okay.
And then he got out of it. Just kind of life got in the way. They were farming pretty heavily then, and so he kind of got out of it. But then he wanted us to have a dog around the house and stuff just to play with when we were kids, and so that's where the dog's name was Beauregard.
Okay.
And so that's where he come in the picture, and I mean, me and my brothers and stuff, like, I'd walk fence line and stuff, just go around checking and take that dog with me. And he was always chasing something, you know, and whether it was squirrels, rabbits. And I remember he treated groundhog one time.
There you go.
And we'd let him run around at night. He'd catch possums on the ground. And so that was it kind of pacified me until I was able to get the coonhound.
Yeah.
And then I just got involved with the dogs from there, and I did it for years up until I got a registered dog.
Okay.
And my very first registered dog was a black and tan, and his name was Rhinestone Cowboy. I actually got him off of Scott Hogan's dad, Jim.
Yeah.
But before Cowboy, I had a grade walker female named Daisy.
Okay.
And I had a lot of fun with her. I mean, she was one I trained her up from. I bought her as a young pup, and she was, I think, 8 weeks old when I picked her out, and just worked with her all summer and whatnot, and then got her ready, and come season and stuff, I mean, she just really turned it on and had a lot of fun with her.
So you cut your teeth on a little mixed up dog, then a grade walker, and then finally got yourself a registered black and tan.
Yes, I got into that, and I mean, I never got into it the intentions. I mean, I haven't shown real heavily in the competition in the last few years. So my dog Doc, he's aged out a little bit. He's laying there in his crate there, sucking up the AC.
Yep.
But he always comes along with us now. He's like our mascot. But once he aged out, I just kind of fell off a little bit, you know.
Let Kelly take over the reins.
Yeah.
She's done a great job with it. I do have a young prospect that I'm pretty excited about. Hopefully he keeps maturing out the way he's been.
In his defense, I did kind of steal Blue from him. Like, that was supposed to be his, like, comeback dog. And I kind of, took a liking to him. And then I started messing with him a lot. And then it was kind of like, well, you might as well show him since you've been doing all the work with him. So
we actually got him on trial, too. I mean, not many people buy a show dog on trial, I guess. But so that year at Autumn Oaks, David and Misty, we were talking to them. They got here on Wednesday night, and they knew that. I mean, I had been after them for a while about Blue.
Okay.
And they weren't interested in selling them yet, and then they decided then that year that, oh, you know what, we'll sell them, but we don't want to just sell them to just anybody. Like, we want. And he was a little reserved, and it's nothing, no fault to David Misty by any means. I mean, it's just sometimes a dog just gets a new zip code, and they just thrive in it, so they gave us the opportunity, and we're looking at him, and like he was a little standoffish with us at first.
He brings him over to the truck. I remember he had him back here at the truck, and I went to pet him, and he kind of like looked at me sideways and kind of gave a little growl, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess you got your dog. Like, that's your dog to show, because he doesn't like me. But, we had him, which in his defense, he's 2 years old, and he had been with Misty and David for his whole life.
He still sees Misty.
Oh, yeah. If he sees Misty or smells Misty and she's around, like, he gets all excited. Like, he remembers her for sure. Like, I actually, try to stay away from her when I'm getting ready to show, because he gets all excited because she, like, obviously gives him treats and stuff. But he definitely remembers Misty for sure.
But he's still kind of, like, he's standoffish with, like, I know I walked up to him one time before, and he's like, he didn't growl or anything, but he's like, who are you? What are you doing over here? So
he's very suspicious of strangers.
Yeah, he's not like one to just come up and meet you on his own. Like, he likes to kind of make. But we've had him here. I mean, he's really come out of his shell even here. Like these past couple years. Like, we have him out here this week, and I mean, he's had people up to him all the time now, and he doesn't really seem to care.
Our buddy Preston, his young daughter's here, and she's been all around over there hanging on him and stuff, and he's dragging
his son around.
But I mean, I'm thankful they gave us the opportunity, but they told us, like, well, if he doesn't work out, bring him back to the World Show, and that was in 22.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, so we got like a month to
decide.
And even after we decided we were going to keep him, Misty said she was still hesitant.
She said she thought they were going to get him back, because I mean, he was like, and it's tough, like, when you've raised a puppy and then you decide, maybe he needs a new home or whatever your reason is for deciding to, place him with somebody, and you have to find the right home for the dog, because I mean, with Blue's personality, the way he was, like, he would not have thrived in any environment. You have to kind of find that fit where, who's going to put the time into him to make sure, like, that he's just not going to get passed along, or I'm going to get him back. Because really, I mean, I don't think they wanted to get him back. Their goal was to find the right place for him. So, but we're super thankful that we got the opportunity, because he's been great. I mean, we just love him. So.
Yeah, and at the time, Misty had her, she had Hank, and I mean, Hank's her main dog. I mean, those two have a exceptional bond, and
she's done everything with that dog.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So when you got that one dog like that, I mean, it's when you have dogs of that caliber, it's hard to do them both justice.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I mean, thankful that they gave us the opportunity to do what we've been able to with them.
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well. You said you've had a lot of memories at Autumn Oaks. What are some other things that you remember about Autumn Oaks that are like really memorable that you've had happen here?
Oh, well, with Doc, for example, I mean, one of my first big wins with him was in 2016, he had a really great year. So he won King of Show Black and Tandies. That was the first time I'd ever achieved that. I'd had dogs in the finals for years, never was able to achieve that King of Show. I've never done it since either. But so that year in 16, coming out to Autumn Oaks, I had the feeling like he's in his prime, like he could really make a deep run at this if I play my cards right. So he was still a show champion. So I hit some shows to get him finished out, and I had a really strong feeling about him. And that year we come out here and ended up pulling off opposite sex overall.
Nice.
We lost to another fellow Pennsylvanian,
Yeah.
Autumn Beelan from back home. She had a little English female called Will's Mountain Blackberry Jam.
Yeah.
And she won this show twice 2 years in a row.
That was the first year she won it, right?
Second.
That was the
second
year she won
it. Yeah. But so I mean that was a really great year.
For sure.
And it's always special. Like, I think it's weird because, like, when we show around the house, like, you are competing against people in your own state. But, like, when we go to a big event like this, like, I always think it is, like, we get so excited, or, like, if, like, two people from Pennsylvania win like that, or, like, if Scott wins and
like the world
show. Yeah. Like, it's just, I just think that is, I don't know. I just think it's really cool because, like the Beelans, they, they're grown and they all live in different parts of the country now. I think one's out in Iowa and, but I mean, they weren't really that far from us. They were only like in Bedford,
I remember so when my dad had that old dog Hitman, the Bruce's daughters, they would take and show him. His youngest daughter, Amelia, would show him quite a bit. Hitman was like a push button dog. He was great for youth kids
to learn on. Yeah,
and my nephews, they grew up showing this dog at all the local shows and everything, and they could barely see over the dog, and he was older than they were, but he assumed the role and whatnot. But Bruce Beelan and his family are great people, but they traveled around quite a bit with Hitman, hitting some youth events and whatnot with him and stuff. And I'd been down to Bruce's place and we went out coon hunting and stuff. And he's got some real beautiful places down there to run dogs. And
as far as show dogs, though, you guys have some stiff competition right around the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's.
You look at the show reports from the local shows in Western PA, and it's like, you got a lot of major event winners. You guys, the Hogans, and like I said, it's not a bunch of slouches, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a few there, and like Joe Moore, he's from down in Waynesburg. He's done his fair share of winning, and it's definitely a tough group there, and like in the woods and stuff too, and the hunting side. I mean, there's still some stiff competition there as far as that goes. I mean. You got guys like Randy Smith in your backyard, more or less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You think, I'll go to a hunt, should be a nice, good, easy hunt, and you show up and there's Randy. It's like, he's packing a coon dog, Yep. But yeah. No, I mean, it's one of them things. I mean, the harder the competition, though, I think it elevates the quality of the animals, and it's like I was told before. I mean. Well, Scott, he'd always tell me, he's like, well, if you get beat, you don't get mad at the person that beat you. You don't get mad at their dog. You just either work harder or you get a dog that's capable of advancing a little further. And I mean, it's just kind of where you got to be with it, I guess. And
that's where I'm at. I got a pup at the house, not from show lines at all, like strictly a hunting line dog, and she's never going to make a show dog. Like at my local club, maybe, but like anywhere else, she'll never win anything. And my son kind of is talking about wanting to do some more youth events. I'm like, I might have to find him something a little better.
Yeah, it's the youth events. Those are always a great time, though, especially when you got a young kid involved, like your son and stuff. see, we used to have my nephew. He would go along all the time.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, some of my best memories and stuff were with him, like getting dogs ready for the hunts and going to youth nationals, and like
he'd come out here with us every year. He'd miss the first week of school, because his kids are starting school, and he did wrestle, right? He wrestled, and he usually
wrestled there
would
for a while.
He would pick going to a dog event over wrestling, like any day. He would just.
He's kind of at that age now, though. I mean, he may come back to it. He's 23.
Young adult, yeah. He's kind of trying to figure out where he fits in the world and get a nice job for himself. And he always says he wants to. He did actually come to the World Show with us last year.
Okay.
Yeah. He was with us at the World Show, which was exciting because I told him, I was like, well, I guess I have to get back into it because you're my lucky charm. So, but yeah, he's always been. He was one of them kids too. He was like a natural with the dogs. Like, he could take it didn't matter which. Like, I can handle dogs to an extent on the bench and whatnot, but he was one of them kids. He was just a natural. Because not every dog is set up the same exact way. There's, a different sequence of events, like of how you go through and set that animal up, and what you might do on this one to set it up is different than this one, or if you're gating this one, you might have to gate it slower than the dog that you normally might show or whatnot. But he was one, like, he'd pick up on every little detail. Yeah.
And I mean, he won youth nationals back in
with Boone. Yeah.
What year that was? That was down in West Virginia that year.
Not sure.
Yeah.
But he was funny. It was actually before Dave and I got together. We were at a local club, and I had Boone. He was a puppy, so he was only like maybe 4 months old, and Corey was like 6 years. 8. Yeah, he wasn't very old. So we're there at the event, and I had brought Boone for practicing or whatever, and he comes over, and he's watching me, he's got his hands on his hips, and he's like, and Boone was, he was just a pup, but he stood pretty good on the bench. Like, he just always was a natural at it. So he's standing there, and he's like, how do you get him to do that? Like, what did you do to get him to stand like that? He's just a puppy. And I just told him, I was like, well, you have to tell your Uncle Dave to get you some walker dogs. I said, because they're pretty much born bench broke. And he didn't believe me. And he looks at me and he's like, no, really? Like, how did you get him to stand? Like, I'm telling you, he's a walker. That's what they do. But so I always used to tease him, about showing the walkers. But he really liked to show Boone, as he got older. And he actually showed a little walker female out here one year for
Star.
He showed Star out here one year. He usually showed a dog named Lady. He hunted and showed her. Okay. That was usually his dog to show and hunt.
Yeah, we would go to the youth events, and one year he won opposite overall at the state youth show.
State youth, yeah.
And then that night he'd come back, I think, 3rd place overall in the hunt. And he was pretty amped up there for that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'd love to get him back into it. Hopefully he gets back into it, because he'd definitely be somebody good to. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing about, like, the youth is, like, it's great to have youth events and they're all in it now, but then, like, once they turn 18 and they go out in the world, it's so hard to get, like, especially when you have coon dogs, because it's not like you can just keep coon dogs anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, you pretty much have to, like, have a setup, or hopefully your parents let you keep them at their house for a little while, or like, if you want to stay in it. And I think that's the biggest problem. Like, we always kept his dogs, the dogs were really always ours, and he would, help and show and stuff, and hunt. But, I think that's the hardest thing with, like, that transition between turning 18 and becoming a young adult. If you get out of it at that time, you really have to sometimes get a push to get back in,
because you're trying to get established in life, and priorities of taking care of yourself versus
it's just, I think that's the hardest thing.
Because I think that's something a lot of people go through. I mean, at some point, like, I know, like, so I started when I was 13, 14, and I did it for years, and then I hit that age of, like, 18 up through my early 20s, you got other things on your mind, you're out there, and whatnot, and but then sometimes you just come back to it. I mean, either that one event, changes stuff, and
yep.
Like for me, it's kind of funny how it all come to be, but like for me with the registered dogs and stuff is just, I mean, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to subscribe to Full Cry magazine and stuff. I'd be sitting there in high school, thumbing through the magazine and reading all the stories and whatnot. But then, I forget where I was going with this.
How you got back into coon hunting.
Oh, yeah. I would. I'm terrible on this stuff. I get astray pretty easy. But where I was going with that was I'd be looking through and I'd see you'd see event winners and different things and so my grandfather, he used to have beagles before I was born and stuff. And he'd always say about, them dogs can't read them papers, they don't need them. And so I kind of had that mindset. I'd look through there and I'm like, I don't know what this dog just won. I mean, it's a picture of a dog, and I just read it for the stories and whatnot. I could really care less about looking at the event winners. And then so my buddy Josh that's out here with us this weekend, I knew Josh's dad when I was a younger adult working on this one dairy farm and work there in the evenings and stuff, helping out for a little while. And so I got to know his dad. And his dad he went coon hunting with me and the guy that owned the farm. His son, Daniel, had a blue tick that he actually got from Scott. This is before I even knew who Scott or anybody was. So we all went hunting one night, and Josh's dad, Dave Grigg, he got the itch for it. And so I think like a week later, he was in a truck driving down to South Carolina to buy 2 blue tick pups. He comes home, he builds his kennel and stuff, and we were talking, and he didn't know Scott or anything, and Josh was probably 12 years old at the time when he got started. And well, then Scott was driving down the road one day and seen this guy putting a dog kennel up in his yard, and he had 2 blue ticks. And it's one of them deals like you're driving through town, you see somebody with a dog box, like, who is that person?
Yep. I've done it.
Well, now you see the kennel going up. It's like, who is this guy? So Scott he pulls in and he starts talking to him, and one thing leads to another, and then that's how I met Scott, and I rode along. Well, Dave ended up buying a walker dog that was already running a tree. I mean, he was pretty solid dog for hunting and whatnot, and so they were putting him in the hunts, and Scott was handling them because they were still learning the rules, Dave and Josh, and so we went along. I rode along with Scott and them on that night hunt, and very first ever night hunt I went to, and I'm just spectating, and it was only a 2-dog cast, but them dogs, hearing that one dog, I'll never forget it. He had a real distinct yodel locate. And we're just standing there, I'm thinking, wow, that dog sounds awesome, and I just kind of got hooked right then and there, and I thought, I need to get a registered dog to start competing in this stuff, and that's where my drive to get a registered dog started.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I could have very easily been swayed to go with walkers, like it kind of come to... Because I was wondering,
crazy to think about, actually.
Because I had that walker female, but she was a grade dog. I couldn't compete with her.
Well, didn't you originally go there to get a walker, and he'd sold her already or something?
Scott's dad had 2 dogs for sale. He had black and tan named Cowboy, and then he had a female named Annie. Annie had back then you had to have a first place and then whatever cast wins you needed after that for the points to get to 100. Well, she had, I think, 7 second-place cast wins. She never got that first. But she was a beautiful little dog, a real nice action-packed female and stuff, because I hunted with her after this. And so then one night I went hunting with Scott and Dave, and I just walked along, and Scott told me before we went to the woods, he said, well, my dad decided to keep Annie, but he's still going to sell Cowboy. And I'd always had an interest in black and tans. It was, my dad always, he said about he had one. That was his favorite dog he had. And I always liked the looks of him. Looking through an old Full Cry magazine from 1980, there was an ad in there when Ed Abel bought Tennessee Big Wheel off of Tam Young. He bought him for $14,000 back in 1980. There was
big money back then.
Yeah, picture of this dog, and then the outline was the state of Oklahoma. It said Tennessee Big Wheel rolls into Oklahoma. And looking at that ad as a young kid, my dad had them magazines up in the attic, and I found them, and I just looked through. I mean, I had that picture burned into my brain, and so that was always there. Like I always did like the black and tans because of that. But I was about to go with the walkers. But
what would your life look like today?
I know, right? Could you imagine Dave Myers with walkers? Ooh. He's handed a walker or two here and there.
Maybe I'd have more trophies.
Yeah, I bet that's what you would have, more trophies.
You're the biggest trophy, though,
so
maybe it's all for the better.
Well, I mainly had walkers when we first met, but I mean, I love our walker dogs, but like the black and tans to me are like that's our breed, and I just think the people in the black and tan that own black and tans are just, I don't know, they're just different than everybody else, and we really love being
breed
around
days event too. Like you've seen,
I mean, it's
the breed
just
days event. I mean,
the last 2 years,
it's getting back up to what it used to be. I mean, this year seemed like it was a little closer to what it used to be, and I mean, I remember years like when. So I started going to black and tan days in 2009. Me and my dad would go every year, and it was always out in Flora. But I mean, it was packed, like the dog barns, everything. I mean, you'd walk like it was, and I feel like a lot of that has kind of gone by the wayside. You don't have the guys set up there with their big stud banners and stuff like that, and
social media has kind of changed that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, and it's played a toll on the magazine subscriptions and advertisements there, because it's a whole different avenue for people to advertise their stud dog. And
exactly,
you can go on Facebook and see like, oh, so and so treed 8 raccoons last night, and this amount of time, or he had this many wins, and you can actually get on there and just kind of follow some of these dogs if they have a page for them and whatnot. And
Stone Creek Hound Supply, a family-operated business, boasts over 50 years of involvement in hounds. For over 2 decades, they've been dedicated to supplying high-quality hound gear. Their reputation is founded on unparalleled quality and exceptional customer service. Crafted from U.S. source materials, Stone Creek clothing is meticulously manufactured right here in Pennsylvania. Through their commitment to excellence, many of their customers have become lifelong friends.
Well, that's like coming out here. Like I remember, like one of the first years I started coming out here, my dad came along, and he was like all excited to like walk through the stud barn, right? Because they had a lot of the dogs that were in the magazine, like they actually were here in person. And you could see them and at their banner, and it was almost like coming to see like a celebrity, right? Like you wanted to see this specific stud dog, you go to Autumn Oaks because he's going to be in the stud barn. Like, I don't know. It's definitely, not saying it's good or bad. It's just funny how like
it's a whole different.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago that it was that different. You know, it's.
Yeah, you'd walk in. It'd be like a showcase. Like there'd be the banner, and then there'd be the dog either be laying there or something, and you can just see it. And, but
there's still a little bit of that here. I mean, there's some.
Yeah, you still see it. I mean, it's coming back. I mean, if this event, if last year is any indication of how strong this event's been coming back. I think it's
even
it's
this year.
sign.
It seems like we just think it looks. We usually come Sunday every year is normally when we get here, and today's Tuesday, and it just felt like it was busier than usual. Like normally Wednesday, really people start rolling in, but I feel like today it looks fuller than usual.
No, Alan said the same thing earlier.
Yeah, it's
definitely made a strong bounce back. And you always hear guys saying, "Oh, this sport's dying," and it's not dying. It's just evolving. It's adapting and evolving for how it needs to. And
I was just texting a guy, and we were talking about some old dogs and old stuff, and fur prices used to be big, so you had a lot more people that hunted because they were hide hunters, and he goes, a lot of those old timers, they got out because hides aren't worth anything. So it's like this. It's not necessarily dying. It's just changed.
Yeah.
Because the emphasis has shifted.
And I mean, I was at work there the one day, and on the job site I was talking to one maintenance guy from the school there, and we were talking about coon hunting, and he was kind of surprised. Like, he's like, "Oh, people still do that," and I was like, "Yeah, and he used to do it when he was younger.
Yeah.
And he said back in the late 70s and the 80s, he said you'd be driving down the road. He said if you seen a raccoon laying there on the side of the road and it wasn't hit too bad, like, you jumped out and grabbed it because that was $30 laying there on the side of the road. And,
yep.
And back then too, I mean, that was a nice chunk of money. But
yeah.
And I was talking, I talked to other people and stuff. Like, I talked to Randy Smith there. This was a couple months ago, and we were kind of talking about how, like, the prices being down, because Randy was always real big on trapping and selling the hides and whatnot. But it's, you'll talk to some guys and they say, "Oh, I hope prices never come back because that had too many people out in the woods, killing them all off." But it's kind of a double-edged sword, though. I mean, in a way, that's good because it gets the exposure for what people are doing out there. Like, I feel like the more people that know about, like, "Oh, I know so and so. He hunts. He hunts with his dogs," and so on and so forth. So then it creates education and awareness. So then somebody's in their house at midnight and they hear a dog treated in their backyard on their bird feeder. They might not be as hostile when you come sneaking in their backyard to get your dog.
Yep.
But
I've been guilty of that a time or two.
yeah, I've had that happen.
I don't know too many coon hunters that haven't had that happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's definitely interesting.
It's definitely changing. We just got to make sure we can change with it and adapt. Otherwise, it will die. If you can't adapt, it will die.
Yep, it will.
So,
and that's like events like this and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely important for, like a good image, because you do have more social media and awareness, which is good and bad too.
Yep.
You just have to be aware and cautious, and just takes one photo of maybe not even a bad situation, but somebody else thinks it looks like a bad situation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you going out on any casts this weekend?
I'm sure I will.
Should be good and hot. That's for sure.
Exactly.
That's what I'm dreading.
So I'm not committing to anything just yet, but I'm sure I'll be out there at some point.
That's normally I always like to do at least one night of pleasure hunting before I go out on a cast. But then I've kind of come to the realization, though, I mean, as hot as it is, I mean, the dog is what he is at this point.
Yep.
All the work I've done leading up to this event hopefully is enough to,
exactly,
to help him through. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
See what this week looks like for you guys. Hopefully, by the time people listen to this, you guys will be big winners of some sort.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Being here is, I mean, I feel like, it's just like one of those things, like Oaks is everybody's dream. Like if you show Coonhounds or hunt Coonhounds, like you can only win national grand titles at Autumn Oaks. And, I think it's in everybody's dream
it's like
to
the
do.
pinnacle.
And, we would love to get that title, and if we get it, great. If we don't, still have fun, and we'll still enjoy our dogs and cheer for whoever gets that.
Does.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you guys taking the time today to sit down with me.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you. The
whole reason we're here to talk tonight is your big win.
Oh, you mean Kelly here?
Well, yeah, you as in both of you.
I'm the kennel groom, I guess, for lack of, I don't know what to say.
Biggest supporter.
Yeah.
So first we have a world champion. Now we have national grand show champion.
Yep.
What's that like?
Oh, overwhelming, actually. It's crazy, especially I don't know if I mentioned it on the other podcast, but that was I had never shown in the grand, like the finals at Autumn Oaks before for the Grands.
Okay.
I never even made it out of the Grands. And that was like the first time I even ever got to show for that title ever.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize. I mean, it is super hard to get up there whenever there's them final 7 dogs standing there, competing for that overall national grand title.
Oh, for sure.
There's very few people ever get the chance to make it up there to compete for that. And,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's definitely an honor to even get up there to that final 7, let alone be chosen for the overall.
Yeah. Yeah, he just really performed. I mean, in our black and tan group, there's a lot of nice dogs in that group, and I was really, really nervous going into that class just because I knew, like, this is it, make it or break it.
Yeah.
You either make it in or you don't. So I was super, super excited to get out of that group, and everybody. There was 7 grand males.
Okay.
That we had to get through in the first group. So it was tough, and then of course at the grand level you have to show against the female to be the one to get to show in the finals, and then depending on whether or not if they pick the male for the national grand, then the female would go back. Any of the females that won at the breeds, whether they won the national title of breed or if they won opposite at the breed level, they would get to go back in and compete for the opposite sex. So, which is kind of funny. We were getting ready to go into the finals there, and Connie Hogan had won national grand plot with Gina,
mm-hmm.
who, Scott and Connie live close to us and we're good friends with them. And I told her, I said, I would be happy with either a world repeat or opposite, if we flip you win and I get opposite. She was like, yeah, that would be really cool. And Scott was like, oh man, that would be something. And that's exactly what happened. Blue won national grand and her plot female ended up winning the opposite title. So that was really, I don't know, that's just crazy to me that actually happened that way.
Yeah, almost a year later.
Yeah.
I know. When I saw that, I was really surprised. I was like, what are the odds of that happening?
I know. That's what I told her. I was like, I'd be okay with the repeated or flipped. That would be fine with me. So, and then our friend Joe Moore, we had a really good weekend. Friends of ours really did well, but Scott and Connie had some wins, and then friends of ours, Joe and Lauren Moore. Joe had won overall champion male with his one Walker male red.
Yeah.
So that was really, really nice to share with them. That was kind of like their first big national win at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very excited too. So it was fun to share that with them.
That's awesome. And I mean, while Blue winning National Grand was the big win, Dave, you're not a slouch, and you did some winning too.
Yeah. Thursday night I pulled off a cast win with Bojack, and it was a hot one. It was definitely a hot night.
You're not kidding. It was miserable hot.
Yeah. I mean, in that heat, I mean, we had three trees that we scored, and then we ended up on that third tree. 2 of the dogs come in, and we were able to get all the dogs handled on that third tree, and then we decided, we'll call timeout, just kind of walk the dogs back to the truck and give them a break and cool them down a little bit. And we still had I think we had 35 minutes left to hunt yet. And so we did that. We got back to the truck and just took a little, just to keep them cooled down some. And
yeah.
And I mean, you could tell they were burning up, and we got them back down the woods and recutting. And I think we made 3 more trees in there in that section after that.
Okay.
And, one of the first 3 trees, I could see the coon in, and one of the spectators had spotted it, but unfortunately it just wouldn't look for the rest of the cast. And then but then we did it come down, I think the last 3 minutes, it's just like everything fell into place. You plan out, you think in your mind scenarios of how you need things to happen in the sequence and stuff. And it's like, all right, everybody's still kind of getting here. The one dog had 75 minus. Bo was sitting at 0, and the other dog in the cast was sitting at 0. And then they just some things fell into place and worked out. He got in there, got treated. He got, he ended up being split from where the female was at, and just worked out. He had the coon, and
nice.
It was, and then that was the first time. Last year was the first year I ever hunted on Friday night out there.
Okay.
You were along for that.
Yeah.
Cast, and we had a rough night last year, but ended up winning the cast last year. But then I've tried for, I think this was the 4th year I've hunted in the National Dual Championship hunt, and just it seemed like something would just never able to get that win.
Yeah,
to actually get the show one in the show the next day, and it was a pretty awesome feeling, getting walking back to the truck, texting Kelly, just letting her know, like, well, I guess I got to give the dog a bath in the morning. And so then you get there Friday morning, and just waiting and stuff for the show they show them at noon.
Yep.
And you're just waiting for that opportunity, and it's definitely an awesome feeling, just knowing it's not like you just walk up and pay your entry and get to go in and show. Like you pay your entry, but then you got to do the work to.
You got to earn it.
Be able to show, and it was an awesome feeling. Definitely be back at it next year.
For sure.
Unfortunately, in the show, we didn't win the breed. We lost a nice dog, David Misty, that honey female.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a good night.
But he looked good. It's not like he's a slouch by any means.
Yeah, he was fighting me a little bit. He was nursing some battle wounds on his one leg from like a week before, and I had him healed up pretty good. And then he was, I think, just running them there that night, the night before. It kind of just re-aggravated stuff. And
gotcha.
But it's all you can ask for, though.
Yeah. Well, I know when we initially recorded, I said good luck, and you guys had mentioned that Autumn Oaks had been good to you guys in the past. Well, I think this Autumn Oaks was really good to you guys.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely one to remember. That's for sure. That's
for sure.
Like, I was talking to somebody, and I always have, I don't know, I'm able to remember some of these stats in my head. I don't know how accurate some of them are, but you think I can think of some of the dogs and stuff, but over the years, I think there's only been 7 dogs that carry the dual titles
of National
Grand and World Show Champion.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of neat when you think about it, though. 4 of those 7 are black and tan.
Oh, wow.
And of those 4, they're all tied in, there's a very similar bloodline behind them, and just kind of a neat thing.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor, that's for sure.
Yep. We
went into that Saturday, and you just like, well, we got a nice dog, but so does everybody else, and it's just, you sometimes just hope that the judge can find you in that lineup of all those nice dogs.
Oh, yeah. And unfortunately, I wasn't over there to watch it, but I've seen, I saw I sat and watched the World Hunt or the World Show last year, and I've seen you guys show up a couple of different places, and we've said it time and time again. Black and tan breed alone is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Just to win, breed is really saying something when you look at all those black and tans.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because any one of those dogs that come out of the breed can make a real deep play at the overall wins at these various events. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely some stiff competition there.
For sure. So,
I mean, it's definitely good to see though, because I mean, I feel like that stiff competition it helps elevate everybody else.
Yep.
You know, it's definitely good for the breed.
Yeah. So, just definitely want to say congratulations on all of your wins over the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.